Hi everyone and welcome to this week's family worship. It's so great to have you with us today. Now I've got a special guest with me today. This is Doug. Can you guess why Doug might be here? That's right, it's Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, Doug. Today is your first Father's Day.
Yep.
What is it that you have enjoyed most about being a father?
I think apart from the pooey nappies and the not being able to sleep, those are all great. Just being able to have fun and play with Owen.
Oh yeah, you like that too? Yeah, so I'm sure you've got some special guys in your life, whether that's your dad or your uncle or a big brother or anyone else that holds that special role. So I wonder if you take a minute now and instead of sharing your highs and lows this week, share what is it that makes them special to you. It sounds like you've all got some amazing people in your life, and it's been lovely to hear such great things. This week we're going to be thinking about Exodus again. So we've been looking at this story for the last few weeks. Doug, what's the thing that you've enjoyed most about the story so far?
Or hearing about all the ugly plagues and getting filled with frogs and things like that. That sounds like lots of fun.
Yeah, so it's pretty gruesome. So we're going to be thinking a little bit more about some of those plagues today. The particular plague that we'll be focusing on is the Passover, so the last plague. My favourite thing was hearing about how Jesus gave us our freedom last week. It was an amazing message and I just can't wait to worship and celebrate that now. So before we dig into this week's teaching, let's start by worshipping. We're going to sing One Way Jesus. Yeah!
You're the only one I need. I turn to you and you are all
So before we get started with digging into the Bible today, we've got a bit of a game to get us thinking. See if you can join in at home. So we're going to be playing the mirror game. And in this game, one person leads, that's going to be Doug. The other person, that's me, has to follow. And what I've got to try and do is copy Doug's exact movements. So I'm going to be watching to see where he moves, and then reacting and following him. I think you can make it harder for me. I wasn't expecting that. So you can see, when my attention got lost, I really struggled to follow Doug. So, this might seem a bit of a strange way to start with where we look in the Bible today. Today, we are thinking about being ready. With the game, you've got to be ready by preparing your body to watch and follow what the other person is doing. If you stop paying attention or you're too slow, you're going to end up losing. And this is a bit like the Israelites and the Egyptians in the bit of Exodus that we're looking at today. Some of you might already know it. It's called the Passover. We've heard the last few weeks that Moses was called by God by the burning bush to set God's people free from being slaves to the Egyptians. When Moses went, he told Pharaoh what God said. He said, "Let my people go." But Pharaoh said, "No." Pharaoh said, "No." So Moses said, "Let my people go." And Pharaoh said, "No." So God sent the plagues to show the Egyptians and the Jewish people that God was all-powerful. This was really important because Pharaoh himself thought he was God. God sent frogs and flies and boils and hail and fire and locusts and darkness. And through all these plagues and suffering, on Pharaoh and the Egyptians and God's people, Pharaoh still said no. Pharaoh said no. So God prepared his people for the final plague, the most horrible plague. He didn't want them to suffer any more. He wanted them to be free. So Doug is going to read the passage from the Bible today.
The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in Egypt, "This month is to be for you the first month of your year. Tell the whole community of Israel that on the 10th day of this month, each man is to take a lamb for his family, one of each household. If any household is too small for a whole lamb, they must share one with their nearest neighbour. Having taken into account the number of people there are, you are to determine the amount of lamb needed in accordance with what each person will eat. The animals you choose must be year-old males without defect, and you must take them from the sheep or the goats. Take care of them until the 14th day of the month, when all the members of the community of Israel must slaughter them at twilight. Then they are to take some of the blood and put it on the sides and on the tops of their door frames of the house, where they eat their lambs. That same night they are to eat the meat roasted over the fire, along with bitter herbs and bread made without yeast. Do not eat the meat raw or boiled in water, but roast it over a fire, with the head, legs and internal organs. Do not leave any of it till morning. If some is left till morning, you must burn it. This is how you are to eat it, with your cloak tucked into your belt, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. Eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. On that same night I will pass through Egypt and strike down every firstborn of both people and animals, and I will bring judgment on all the gods of Egypt. I am the Lord. The blood will be a sign for you on the houses where you are. When I see the blood, I will pass over you. No destructive plague will touch you when I strike Egypt."
So this is it. It's been up and down. It's been up and down. Every time Moses has gone to Pharaoh, there's been a moment where Pharaoh has promised to set the people go. It's been up, it's been good, and it's been down. It's been not so good, because then Pharaoh said, "No." It's been up, and it's been down. And it's been backwards and forwards, and Pharaoh has been changing his mind about whether or not to let God's people go. And now this is the moment. God is passing through Egypt to bring the final plague. Now the final plague is the most horrible. We heard in that passage that the firstborn son of every household and every animal, that means the oldest child, is going to die that night. It sounds pretty gruesome, doesn't it, Owen? And it took this to happen for God's people to be set free from slavery. Now that sounds familiar, right? God was reminding people, even way back then, that he had a plan for his people to be free. Not just from slavery, but everything. To make them truly free. Now, can you remember who actually set us free? We talked about it a little bit last week. That's right. God the Father sent his Son Jesus to die and take away all our sin so that we can be set free. God loves us so much. He so wanted to rescue us, to protect us and to free us that he sent his Son Jesus. God is such a loving Father. And when we believe in Jesus, we get adopted into his family. We become God's child, one of his people, and he becomes our loving Father. And because God is such a loving Father, he gave his people instructions to keep them safe. That's all this passage was saying today, that he was giving instructions for his people to follow so that they would be safe. This meant the people that obeyed him and followed his instructions were kept safe and finally given their chance to walk in new lives as free people. So if you follow God and obey him, you can be free too. This shows us that if we're ready and watching and listening for God, a bit like the game that we played, we can be ready to move when God moves. Yeah, and follow him to where he leads us. We know we can trust him because of how much he loves us.
This year has been really easy to become distracted. There's been a lot of worrying things happening with COVID, a lot of frustrating things with the lockdown, and we've missed things we used to do. But if we spend all our time looking at that stuff, it means we can't see what God is doing. We might miss when he moves. God's people in today's passage put up with years of suffering and pain, but they still kept their eyes peeled and were listening to Moses' messages from God. This shows us how important it is to keep looking to God and what he's doing, even when times feel hard. So keep your attention on God. If you notice you're distracted, try spending some time looking out for him or praying with him this week. Because if we're not ready, we might miss what he's doing. He's got so many incredible things he's working on and good plans for us. We need to be ready to follow when he moves.
So how can you keep your attention on God this week? Have a chat about that now. Keeping our attention on God can sometimes feel really tricky. There are lots of other things going on around us. The way we think about who God is can be really helpful. In the Bible, it tells us God is our Father, a bit like we talked about earlier. Now, when we think about a father, or that special person that you talked about earlier, what is it you enjoy doing most with that person? Now, the answer you've given probably involves doing something that spends time with them. Doug shared that his favourite thing to do with Owen was spend time and play with him. One way we can keep our attention on God is by spending time with him and choosing to look out for him. I like to do this by going for a walk or a bike ride and talking to God at the same time. What about you, Doug? What do you enjoy doing to connect with God?
Often being alone in the car is quite good, or getting my guitar out and playing some worship songs is also quite good.
So I would love for you to try out this week a way to spend time with God and notice him. So as you're doing it, it might be that you just pay attention to see, actually, what is it God's created in that area? What is it God has done to a person or is working on in a person? What is it that God has made really special about that thing? Write it down, keep track, and you might see lots of God and what he's doing. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We have had fun. We hope you have had fun too. We hope to see you all again soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.